Hi everyone, I'm here with my new car. As you guys saw in my last video, I turned in the 2020 Giulia TI all-wheel drive as I am actually leaving the Michigan area and had to turn in my lease. It's not transferable to move to Minnesota, which is where I'm headed for a new job opportunity. As some of you may have known, I worked for Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, and so I felt that it was right to drive the company's products while I was at the company. Now that I am leaving the company for another adventure and different industry, I decided to keep to my principles, if you want to call it that, and stick with a sports sedan, a sport luxury sedan, but not go too fancy, nothing too crazy, something that's still affordable, yet elegant, luxurious, and is a good daily commuter. As I was saying in my last video, I was looking for something that was maybe a hair bigger than the Giulia, had all-wheel drive, forward collision warning, blind spot monitoring, and as you can see, I pretty much got that. This is a 2020 Audi A4 with Quattro all-wheel drive. This is in a glacier white metallic color, so it's a very sparkly metal flake white. I think it was a $595 option. This vehicle actually only has 624 miles when I purchased it. It's a premium trim, so it's a base level trim, but for 2020 it comes with a standard 10.1 inch touchscreen HD display. I think it's like a QLED display, not quite like OLED, but slightly like a high-end LED screen that's inside the interior that I'll show you here in a bit. For 2020 there was a minor refresh, new headlights, a few changes to the sheet metal on the sides of the hood, and the deck lid, the rear trunk lid, as well as the bumpers and headlights and taillights. So a few minor changes there, and then on the inside the 10-inch screen was new for 2020. It also has a little more standard equipment for 2020, and the length of the vehicle extended from 186.1 inches to 187.5 because of the front and rear bumpers that were slightly longer than before. As part of the sheet metal changes in Audi's press release, they show that this rear window is slightly longer, not by much, probably half an inch longer, so you get a little bit better sight lines for kids or rear passengers. I think just this applique and structure right here was thinned up by maybe a quarter to a half an inch, making it just a little bit longer of a window. So a little bit better view. Makes the car a little longer, kind of makes it look more similar to the newer Audis that came out for 2019 and newer. So it's more of their design language on their newer vehicles. This has the 248 horsepower, 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. That's kind of a ubiquitous VW Audi group engine. 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission, and has Quattro all-wheel drive with a longitudinal engine. So this is not a transverse front-wheel drive based vehicle, even though it could come in front-wheel drive as an ultra trim. This was a transverse engine, so it was not mounted sideways. It was mounted the same direction as a rear-wheel drive car would have. So it gives you really good balance side to side. So, you know, you get 50-50 side to side, and I think this vehicle has like a 54 or 55% front weight balance and 45 or 46% rear weight balance. So pretty well balanced, not as balanced as the Giulia, but then again, this vehicle, the engine is mounted, I think about 50% of the engine's mounted ahead of the front axle. As you can tell, like this center line, the engine kind of straddles, you know, most of the engine straddles a little forward of that center line of the front wheel. This car, as I said before, has more standard equipment for 2020. That was new to the Audi A4 and S4, including Audi Side Assist, which includes blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and exit assist, so it'll light up the LED lights in the door panel red if you open the door and a car is coming and could potentially rip your door off, or you could get hit by a car. So that's standard. This car does not have front and rear park sensors, so interestingly enough, you can tell it's got these bulbs for the high-end radar adaptive cruise control, but this car does not have adaptive cruise control. It's just a common front bumper, but nothing's hooked up to those bulbs, so it's just a cost save for Audi to use a common part. Front park sensors are actually not park sensors. This car does not have front or rear park sensors, so obviously that's also integrated into the front bumper as a cost save, and there's no wiring hooked up to it for this model because this is the premium trim. This is the base model trim, although it has a lot of standard equipment, including LED headlights and the animated rear turn signals, which here I'll demonstrate here for you. If I unlock the car, I think it'll give you a little demonstration of what it looks like. Here we go. So you can see, gives you a little bit of a little animation as the lights come on. So that's kind of cool. 18-inch wheels are standard. The S-Line Sport Appearance Package is standard for 2020 Quattro models. This car also has the Audi Beams, Audi Beam Rings, which are the, I don't know if you can really tell. It's hard to see, but there's the Audi rings for the puddle lights that are mounted underneath the door panel. So that's pretty cool. Nice solid door. I will say that the door sounds a little more solid than the Giulia in the front and rear doors, and I would say especially the rear doors. Just sounds nice and solid. So it's built, it feels a little more solid, a little more chunky than the Giulia. It feels slightly bigger to drive than the Giulia because the steering's not as quick. The seats are a little more plush, a little more supportive. There's more sound insulation, so you don't get it quite as visceral of an experience as the Alfa Giulia. You don't hear as much engine noise. I would actually say the 8-speed auto in the Giulia is a little bit better of a transmission in terms of sportiness than this dual clutch, contrary to what a lot of people say. This car on the upshifts makes a slight burble from the exhaust, which the Giulia really doesn't. If the Giulia does, it's really only audible from outside if you have like a GoPro on the exhaust. In the front seats, you really can't hear it. Whereas on this car, you can hear the burble really audibly, even with the music on, when you do an upshift at full throttle. On the 7-speed automatic, or I should say dual clutch automatic transmission in this car is very smooth. It's not as responsive as an 8-speed torque converted automatic, but it's very quick shifting. It's very smooth. It has like almost a zero shudder in stop and go traffic. So it's very well tuned by Audi VW Group. So it's actually really impressive that they did such a good job with the tuning of it. Versus the 8-speed ZF transmission as the Alfa has and a lot of BMWs and other Audi S-Line products have, is I would say a little more, I don't want to say visceral, but it's like, the 8-speed ZF's like telepathic for you. So I'd actually say the 8-speed in the Giulia is probably slightly sportier than this dual clutch. The steering wheel feels better in the hands on this vehicle. It's a little more high quality. Back seat's definitely a little bigger than the Giulia. I'll show you guys that. I'm 6 feet tall, almost exactly 6 feet tall, and I sit, you know, reasonably close to the steering wheel, but I usually sit back and have my arm out and my wrist touches the rim of the steering wheel on the top. But in the back seat, you can tell there's definitely a bit more leg room than the Giulia, maybe only about an inch and a half more, but it's really noticeable. A little more noticeable is actually the distance between this backrest and the front seat. This seat cushion is way longer than the Giulia, so you have a lot more room for car seats, and you never have your legs hanging off the edge here. Basically, your legs are straight down and your knees are like right here, versus the Giulia, your knees would be closer to the seat back. I'll take a quick look inside and start it up for you guys, just so that you can tell. Stepping inside, it's the black leather interior. Leather is standard on this vehicle. For 2020 and 2021, the Premium Plus and Prestige trims have the full digital cluster. This is a base premium trim, so it uses the more standard cluster that the 2016 for Europe, 2017 for North America, A4s had until 2019. So this is a more standard cluster that Premium and Premium Plus trims in prior years had. So we'll start it up, put foot on the brake. Has a really nice chime, so I kind of like that. And it has like a thing here, so let's shut the door so it quiets up a bit. And my seatbelt's off, so that also will keep the chime on. But full tank of gas, uses premium fuel. The Giulia was premium recommended for maximum performance. This car is premium required. Interior design is fairly similar to the Giulia, but actually better visibility in this car. The mirror is offset from the A-pillar, so you can see a little more in your sight lines. This new screen is really nice. It's very responsive, so I really like that. And like I said, great visibility all the way around, even with sail windows in the back. Reasonably small headrest and a big back window. Standard 10 speaker audio system with a very small subwoofer. I think it's like 6 or 8 inch subwoofer, so not very big at all, but it's mounted in the rear parcel shelf on this vehicle. And it's in the floor if you have an Audi A4 Avant, but in the parcel shelf for the sedan. Sound system's a little bit better than the base audio system in the Giulia. The premium sound system in the A4, I would say, is a slight step above the premium audio system in the Giulia. However, this sound system is, if you can imagine the Giulia premium hardened cardon sound system, but without the surround sound, that's basically what this base A4 sounds like. So not bad, not amazing, but pretty solid for a base trim. So overall, this is the new car. I will give you a lot of updates on this as the miles roll on by. Like I said, I picked this for basically, you know, Audi's reputation for reliability has actually been improving over the last few years. If you follow JD Power and Consumer Reports, as well as the Audi A4 forums, I think this generation B9 Audi A4 is actually getting, you know, pretty stellar reviews and really good, fairly good reliability record, above average from where I can tell. The Giulia, you know, my experience with the Giulia was I had a lot of electrical bugs in the time that I had it. Even the new one didn't idle quite right. The infotainment system froze and restarted quite a bit. This car has had 0 issues so far, and I've put on almost 1,500 miles. So I would say I'm hoping for decent reliability. I bought a prepaid maintenance package for $1,200 that includes fluid changes, filter changes, tire rotations, balancing, oil and filter changes. Diff, I think 1 differential fluid change at 40,000 miles, the rear diff. And overall it saves like $300 versus paying for it as I go. So it's a good deal to get the prepaid maintenance for a slight discount. So all in all, this was a service loaner, if you guys didn't know. Here, I'll step out here so you guys can see the rest of the vehicle before I turn off the camera. This vehicle was a service loaner at Audi in Minneapolis, and I got it for almost $10,000 off the MSRP with only 624 miles on it. So it was a really difficult vehicle to pass up, especially when it was exactly what I was looking for. If I just had the front and rear park sensors, this would be just about perfect. But for the price and value and, you know, new tires, they gave it a fresh oil change before I got it, did a software update, a customer satisfaction update as not only to the infotainment system, but also to the powertrain control module. So it's even smoother to drive because this is a November 2019 built vehicle, and the dealer took delivery literally in March of 2020 and was barely used because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So they had a week to use it, and then they basically couldn't use it as a service loaner because it was through Audi corporate. Their operations were shut down for 3 months, and then they had no events to bring it to, like concerts or state fairs during the summer, which they were going to use it for. So that's why it only had 624 miles after about 9 months. So I hopped on this deal while I still had the chance, and so far I'm very happy with it, and I hope to provide you guys a lot of updates in the years to come. Stay tuned, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.